Impact Interview is sponsored by the Pocono Mountains, where small-town charm meets big adventures. Book your trip today by visiting PoconoMountains.com.
Welcome back to Nittany Game Week. This week's Impact Interview is a member of the undefeated 1994 Penn State team, and like many of his teammates, Marco Rivera had an exceptional NFL career, 11 years in the league, 9 with Green Bay, 2 with Dallas, 3-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro. Marco Rivera, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Well, absolutely. Thank you for having me. And I'm excited to get started.
All right. Well, Scrap and Jay are going to have to wait a second. I got the first question. So it's the 30-year anniversary of the 94 team, a very unselfish group of players. Perfect time to reminisce considering the opponent. You got Illinois this week to Penn State, and really that's the game a lot of people look to, Marco, about your 94 team, that 90-yard drive to clinch the Big Ten title. So take us into the huddle. What's the mindset as you begin that drive with that group of guys?
Well, you hit it right on the head. When you talk about unselfish, that whole 94 team was the most unselfish group of football players that I've ever been around. Just think about the talent that we had on that team and the unselfishness. The guys were humble. The guys were committed to the team. We just had I played football a long, long time, and I've never been part of a team that the players really rallied around each other and were committed to each other like that 94 team. You know, you think about that day, that Illinois game, the whole day started it was a weird trip. I don't know if you guys remember, but remember the hotel? When we woke up in the morning, there was no electricity in the hotel. And we had to walk downstairs. And Joe did not want us to go back up those stairs because I think we were on the top 2 floors. And he had us down in the lobby and we ate like pizzas and hoagies for pregame. And we headed to the stadium. I mean, the entire town had no electricity. Something happened. Rumor has it like one of the frats kind of knocked over a pole or something. Who knows? It was 30 years ago. But that whole game started. And, we were all out of sorts. We were not ourselves. I mean, Illinois came in and they put 21 points on us right off the back. I think by the end of the first quarter, it was 21-0. And, and perfect example, we're on the sideline. And this is what I remember. The players, nobody was pointing fingers. Nobody was yelling. Nobody was screaming or cursing or, this is you and we got to do this. No. The guys were so confident that we were like, okay, look, we dug a hole. We got to get out of it. The coaches were poised. The coaches were not fighting amongst themselves. The coaches were not screaming at the players, right? When we were down 21-0, what we saw was a bunch of guys with enough confidence and enough ability that we knew we were going to get this done. We were not leaving that stadium without the victory. You look at Kerry Collins, the game that he had, the game that Bobby Ingram had, the game that Kyle Brady had, the offensive line, no pressures when we needed no pressures. That last drive, I mean, it was a thing of beauty. Kerry in command of the huddle. The guys, you could hear a pin drop in that huddle. I know we were in Illinois. It was loud. The fans were really ravenous during that last portion of the game. But for some reason, in that huddle, all you saw was focus, attention to detail, and the words coming out of Kerry Collins was just as loud as ever, and the guys really were focused and poised to get that drive done. One play at a time, we connected, we got down to the goal line, and we scored when we had to score. We just focused in on the game, and we would determine not to leave without a victory.
So, Mark, you played for Green Bay and Dallas, obviously two of the more passionate fan bases in the NFL, but certainly not more passionate than the Penn State fan base. And I know your experience with Penn State fans, especially for people like Lou Gatto and Angie Gatto, over the years. How much did the fan support and those friendships that you made mean to you?
Oh, it's that adds to part of why players really go to Penn State. You go to Penn State and you meet Lou and Angie Gatto, who really adopted the team and adopted the players like if they were their own kids. He would invite us to his house. He would feed us I mean, he would feed us. If he could feed us every day, he would. But, I met Louis when I was a freshman at Penn State. I think it was at the quarterback luncheon. He was sitting at the table, and he was just like a little boy that just got a new toy. He was giggling and smiling, and I could tell he really loved being there. He really loved the players. He knew everything about every player, and we just hit it off, and we became like best of friends throughout the years. They did so much for us, as they were personally, emotionally involved with the team and the players, and they really took care of us.
Your 11-year NFL career included 9 years in Green Bay and 2 years in Dallas. Among the Pro Bowls and All-Pro selections, what stands out about your time as such a successful NFL player?
And Tom, you hit it on the head. I played a long time in the NFL, had a lot of success, but I guess what stands out the most, I would say, that one game in Green Bay when our quarterback, Brett Favre, when his father passed away, we were on the road. We were playing the Oakland Raiders at Oakland. Now, if you're an NFL fan, you know how difficult it is to play in Oakland. Their fans are ravenous. I mean, they are intense. They're almost as intense as Philadelphia Eagles fans. But the Eagles fans are number one, hands down. Oakland fans are number two. So we get there. Brett Favre, his father passes away tragically. We don't know if he's going to start. We have an emergency team meeting. He stands up in front of the team. Now, we got, it's when you travel on the road, you go with everybody. So there was about 90 people crammed into this conference room in the hotel. And he gets up there and he starts telling us, and he starts talking in detail, and he starts to tear up. Let me tell you, there was not one dry eye in that room. I mean, if it was 90 men in that room, all 90 guys were tearing up, and we rallied around our quarterback. He could have easily gone home and been with his family, but he said, you know what? Big Irv would want me to play this game, and I'm going to play this game. And when he said that, I've never seen a team rally around a player, and that night was magical. That night he threw 5 touchdown passes. The receivers, I don't remember a receiver dropping the ball. I don't remember him getting touched. And it was the only time ever that an opponent went into Oakland, beat the Oakland Raiders, and got a standing ovation from their fans as we walked out of that stadium, which was incredible. Never seen anything like it.
I remember watching that game. Can't imagine the emotion that the players went through for that. Look, these stories are fantastic. Keep them coming. And we're going to bring up another name from the past, Joe Serra, who was famous for being a determined recruiter. So talk about your recruitment coming to Penn State from Elmont, New York.
Oh, Joe Serra. Yeah, he recruited myself, Andre Johnson, and Justin Williams out of Long Island. And you want to talk about intense. Some of the things I told Joe one time, I was like, hey, Joe, I've never been to the West Coast. I think I'm about 100% sure I'm going to go to Penn State, but I just want to take a trip to USC, right? And he was not good with that. He goes, well, you don't want to go to West Coast. Those guys completely think different, and they're different, and you belong here in the East Coast, and you're going to be at Penn State, and you're going to do great things. And I'm like, yeah, I got that. You already sold the program. I'm good. Plus, I already knew I wanted to play for Joe Paterno. So I take this trip, and I go out there to USC, and he was correct, man. Those West Coast guys and the East Coast guys, there's something in the water because we're completely different. Well, I go out there. They have beautiful facilities. The tradition is just as grand. So I get back. When I get back to the airport, I remember my mom. She's kind of like waiting on the other side of the doors, and she's got this look in her face. And I walk through the doors. And I'm like, hey, Mom, what's up? And she goes, hey, I'm not sure, but I think Joe Serra is standing up there behind that pillar. And I quickly look up, and Joe was in the airport behind a pillar looking at me, right? And I'm just like, why the hell is he in the airport? Right? And it's like 10:30 at night. So we get in the car, and those times we didn't have cell phones or anything like that. So no lie, when I got home, as soon as I walked in that door, my phone rings and he's go, "Hey, this is Joe Sarah. You didn't commit, right?" And I'm like, "No, coach, I didn't commit to USC. I told you I just wanted to go for the trip. I just wanted to see USC." And he was like, "Good, good, good, good." So that's a story that's how intense Joe Sarah was. Unbelievable.
So, Marco, we talk about the '94 offense, and certainly it ranks as the best offense in Penn State history and one of the best, if not the best, offense in college football history. The top 14 players in that team played 112 years in the NFL, an average of 8 years per guy, which, as you know, is an insane number of years. Did you guys on that team, did you have any clue how truly gifted and how talented you guys were at that time, or is it just something that years later you look back and go, wow?
Yeah, no, it's actually something that you look back now and you really go, wow. You know, when you look at that team and the guys who got drafted in the NFL and the longevity that we had in the NFL, that talks volumes of the guys in that locker room. That's not normal. You know, usually the average NFL career is like 2.3 years or 2.4 years. And to have that many guys from Penn State go and have an average of 8 years, that's pretty special. You know, and that just really brings me back to the whole number one, number two, Nebraska, Penn State. You know, oh, they were better, so we're going to give the national championship to Nebraska. And, you know, Penn State, yeah, you guys had a good season, but, you know, you're not as good. I'm like, really? Compare the Nebraska players that went to the pro and compare the Penn State players that went to the pro. And then we could talk. Now, 30 years later, you know, you'll see the type of talent we had. But, you know, it's 30 years. So who's really going to go back in time and kind of go, all right, well, maybe you guys should have had a little taste of the national championship. But that just, that always brings up in conversation. And trust me, these last couple of weeks on that text feed, that's all we've been talking about.
All these years later, that team blew out a lot of teams you played. But it is the game-winning drives at Michigan and Illinois that stand out. What prepared you guys to perform in the clutch so effectively?
It was just the way we practice, and it's really Joe set an environment for us, and you know we Bloody Tuesday was named Bloody Tuesday for a reason. We got after each other pretty good. You know, and he never let us get too cocky or too comfortable with how good we were. You know, Joe was a master in just creating enough doubt on the players to keep us a little on their scared side. I always say when you have a great player who plays a little scared, he's going to play tremendous. You know, when you have a great player who's a little cocky and thinks he's got the game won, that's when they get punched in the face. But Joe really understood the talent he had, and he always made sure that we didn't get overconfident in any situation. And then then we used to practice to the point where our Tuesday practice were really tougher than the game on Saturday, which is a good thing because the game on Saturday, it felt like we were, you know, we had our way with our opponents, and most of the time we did. But I think he got us prepared for those hard games like Michigan and Illinois in practice on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. You know, in Illinois, like I said, when we had that drive all game, throughout the entire game, we never lost focus. We never lost commitment. We were so confident that we were going to win that game that we just said, okay, we just need to keep scoring. We need to clear up the mistakes and where we're going to win this game. And that's what we did. And we did that in Michigan too. We knew Michigan was going to be a tough game, and it was going to be loud. And I believe that we had 107,000 fans screaming, and we did it in Michigan too. It was just the way we practiced and the way we got ready for games. And that's all a credit to the coaching staff and Coach Joe.
Well, we could talk with you all day. The stories are priceless, but I have just one final question for you. I know you're in the Dallas area. When you do get a chance to return, the names, the faces are different, but that spirit remains the same. At least that's how I think a lot of people describe and feel about Happy Valley and Penn State. What is that emotion like for you when you go back to the area, Marco, and not just see your teammates, but just be in that area and be welcomed back? Because I know you guys get a great welcome every time you go back there. What is that emotion like for you?
Oh, it's tremendous. It takes me right back to, my time at Penn State. And, it puts a smile on my face every time I go home. Well, it's like going home, and we have something really special at Penn State, especially, the group of guys that are going back this weekend. But every time I go back, I never have a bad time. I'm always happy. I walk around now. Campus has completely changed. Like some of the old buildings, some of the roads and everything. I'm just like, whoa, wait, what happened here? But it's nice to see, the I guess the improvements in the new buildings. And it's just Penn State, the university growing. But it's always nice to get back. It always puts a smile on my face. It's like my second home. And that's what we did, and that's how we are. And it's a great special feeling.